here.
Hey, what's up, Ed?
We're up to like 86. All right. Get into the sharing thing. We got a good number already without the shares.
Okay.
So let's get to it.
All right, so today, there's Keith. All right, so tonight, guys, thank you for joining us. It's been a little bit since we've been on. We didn't do one last week because of that thing that they tried to call a Super Bowl, but we're not going to talk about that. So tonight we have with us, our sponsor is Ed's Fly Shop again. They sponsored the last one that we did. Ed, he actually has product to sell now because USPS finally got his box there. So he's agreed to sponsor tonight, and we're going to give away a bobbin for every 50 shares. So share early, share often, get it out to a bunch of your groups, all of your fly tying groups and stuff, and we'll pick a random winner for every 50 shares. Ed is agreed to sponsor a bobbin, so you got a chance to win a Nor-vise bobbin. So
if you're a member of a fly tying group, post it in there.
Flood it.
Flood them.
Yep.
Flood it away.
So tonight we are going to be tying some micro intruders, and we've got a little surprise here. So we've got something new that we've been working on, and some of you guys, if you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you've seen bits and pieces of it. But here's the first one.
The only one.
The completed of the Nor-vise shank jaw. Okay, and this jaw and this hub combination are going to open up a lot of opportunities for us, and we're going to get into that here in a second. So we're going to spin up a couple of micro intruders tonight. So I've got a single stage or single collar that I'm going to do, and then I'm going to do a micro double collar intruder, which are pretty cool. I have personally, and I'm not going to be able to stick to this, but I have personally made a promise to myself that I am going to do all of my trout fishing with a micro spay this year. And I know that I'm not going to be able to hold true to that because there's a couple of places that we fish where you just simply can't fish even a micro two-hander. So I'm going to say wherever it's applicable, I'm going to fish with a two-hander. So can everybody hear and can everybody see me okay?
Judging from what I can tell when they're going back and forth, yes. So I'm going to go to this smaller camera so we can see those jaws.
All right, so you need me to focus it?
Maybe when there's a fly in there. For now, we're good.
Okay. All right, so here, this is the.
Sean, can I pick mine up tomorrow?
This is this is the first of the shank jaw, and I'm gonna get into the first pattern, and I'll tie it, and then we'll talk about some of the things that we're working on. So this is we're going to tie this. This is a single collar. So we're a big fan of the aqua flies, the shanks. This is a round eye 20 millimeter shank. Okay, straight shank. It doesn't have a loop on the end. So we're going to slip that in, tighten it up, get our eyes set straight. Yeah, they're a little farther out. Okay. So, can everybody see that?
Everyone's asking when they'll be available.
We'll talk about that in a minute. So, all right. So, I'm tying. Yeah, I know. I'm tying with tonight. I'm using Semperfly. This is black nano silk. This is 12-aught, I think. This stuff has a lot of advantages. It does not bulk up, which I like for these type of flies. Now, we are going to do a couple dubbing loops, and you're going to see me do some stuff that I don't normally do because of this thread. It has advantages, and it has some challenges. So the first thing that we need to do, and now that that Mr. Ed Hayes is on, I'm glad that he's on tonight because
he's one of two people that had a big influence on this.
Well, not only that, yeah, this was kind of his idea, but when you're tying shank flies and you're tying them in a stinger type of pattern, this step is very important. What are you laughing at?
Because I know.
Because you know what it is? All right, so this is beadle-on beading wire. You can use Fireline. You can use Senyo's Intruder wire. There's a bunch of different things that you can use. And I can tell you right now, this piece that I pre-cut is too short. So I'm going to cut another one. That's a little longer, and this stuff is not easy to cut either. Good Lord.
You're worried it might not be strong enough for steelhead if you use them. I think you're good.
I need to get on this thing with my razor scissor. There we go. Alright. So, I'm going to make a loop.
Larry Roswell said, hello from Southern Maryland. Is Maryland big enough to have a northern and
a southern? Yeah, right. Damn, that piece isn't long enough either. This is like amateur hour tonight. I will tell you this, guys. Bear with me, because it has not been a good week, and my test ties earlier this afternoon did not go well. So if you see anything that looks like it doesn't belong, don't worry about it. All right. So this is very important that you put this piece of wire on. Now, some people will put the hook on when they do this. I've got a mark on my jaws that you can see that's the length that I want. If you're going to put the hook on second, it is very important that you leave enough loop, because the entire hook has to pass through the loop in order for you to put it on. Some people will put the hook on first, and they will pull the hook up tight against the shank. I don't like doing it that way for two reasons. Number one, I like, on this style fly, I like to have the ability to go hook point up or hook point down, depending on what tip I have on. Okay? And I also like to have the ability to, when you hang this thing on a rock and you roll the point of the hook, you can just take your hook off, switch it out, and put another one on. So,
or if you get it stuck in your nose, you can cut the hook and you can go and
yeah, that's true too. But my buddy Ed tied a few of these a while ago, and he tied some awesome looking flies, and he didn't put the wire in them, so there was nowhere to put the hook on. And full disclosure, I've done the same thing. So
I did it when I was on my artificial intelligence kick. It was one of my best looking flies. I just never told you about it and just threw it out.
Yep. So it's important that you remember to put this wire in. So I've got a couple of loose wraps on, and now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull this down so that it's at the mark that I want. And I'll show you this in a second. Take a couple more wraps here. There we go. Kind of rolled on me a little bit. Let me get that. There we go. Now we're burning with wood. Okay, so that's about the length that I want. And now I'm just going to wrap this up, and I want to keep these on top of the shank. And I'll move my fingers out of the way here in a second. Okay. Now I'm going to put just a dab of Zap-A-Gap on here. Does not take much. This is, I've been doing articulated connections with this for years.
Holy crap.
I do my stinger hooks. What do you, holy crap?
We're at 172 shares.
Sorry, Ed. Sorry, Ed. All right, now I've laid, I put some glue on, and I've laid a thread base down. Now I'm going to take these tag ends, and I'm going to fold them and wrap them up a little closer to the eye there. Now I'm going to fold them back, and I want to actually lay them right down on top of one another. Okay, and I'm going to wrap back over top. And I'm going to get about 2/3 of the way back, and now come in here with my wire cutters. Don't cut your loop, which I have done that as well. Just cut your tag ends. So I'm going to lift this up. There it is. It's kind of tough when everything's black. I can't really see what the hell I'm doing. Here we go. Now, take your thumb and push that down. That thing is, you might as well be tied on a razor blade right there. Just wrap it down nice and easy. Okay, so we're all the way at the back. Now we've got our loop in, and you can see it's on, it's just about the length of the mark that I have. So now I know the hook that I use, and I'm going to use, it's a owner, it's called a mosquito hook. It's a number 4 for this pattern. I know it's going to fit in there. Okay, so now we're going to make a dubbing loop, and this is just kind of a hot spot on the back of the fly. So I'm just going to pull out some thread to make your standard dubbing loop, and I'm going to hang that over here. Come up front, throw a half hitch. Okay, now this is one of the, and I won't really call it a disadvantage to this thread. It is very, very slippery, and it is hard to get things to dub properly on it. So this is one of the few times where you will actually see me use dubbing wax. Okay, so this is J. Stockard's. This is a low tack, and I'll just wax my loop up a little bit. And that just helps the material stick to the thread. This stuff is so slippery. It can be challenging. And we've got a little bit of Senyo's Ice Dub Fluorescent Hot Orange. And we're going to pull out a little bit of that. And we're going to tease it out. And we're going to put that in our loop. Now I'm going to use my hackle pliers for this. Okay, we're going to put that in there. Now hopefully you can see that. Now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to manipulate. You want about an inch to about an inch and a half of material in this loop. So I'm going to pull out a little more. And let me get this loop open back up. And this is why I like to wax it, because I can open the loop and the material doesn't go anywhere. And you want it about in the middle. You want it to be evenly spaced. And take a little time to do this, because if you just throw the stuff in there and you don't really set it up and get it positioned right, when you wrap it, it's going to look like crap. Okay, so that's going to be my dubbing loop. Now, you will notice I did not use a dubbing spinner. When I set this, I just used a regular pair of hackle pliers. What we do is we're going to bring this out front. I'm going to pinch it right to my thread that's on the thread post, and I'm going to spin the vise, and that's how we spin up. That's how we spin up our dubbing loop. And I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to brush it out. You want this to be kind of long. You want these fibers to kind of veil back over the shank of the hook and the back of the shank. So we're going to pick this out a little bit, just rough it up. It's just a regular toothbrush that I'm using here, and I'll give it another spin. Okay, just to make sure everything's good and tight. That's another reason why I like using that nano silk. When you're doing loops and stuff, you can spin that thread like ungodly, and it doesn't break. So now I've got it pinched. I'm going to come underneath, and I'm going to work this to the back. And for every wrap, I'm just going to pull these fibers back. And I'll wrap it once, and you can hear me engaging and disengaging the locking mechanism of the vise. And all this is going to give us is a little hot spot there. Most of this is going to be covered up, but in the water it's going to look way cool. Now I got to clip the extra material of my dubbing loop off. And whammo. Now we're out. There's a dubbing loop that we did with no tool, with no dubbing spinner. I'm just going to throw a half hitch in there, get my bobbin out of the way, and I'm going to brush this up. And we'll brush her back, and it'll veil back over that loop. Okay, there's step number one. Now again, this is a single collar, so we're going to go into some Marabou, and this is one of my favorite color combos, especially for the early spring when the suckers are spawning. We've got olive, just a straight olive, and this is a shell pink. Okay, and these are Marabou blood quills, and I've already prepped. I've pulled all the fuzzy stuff and the garbage off of the bottom. Okay, and you've seen me do this before on a couple of patterns. I really, really like working with Marabou. I want about 1 inch of material here. So I'm going to stroke this back. And we're going to tie this in. It's going to be a tip-tied Marabou, and then we're going to palmer it forward.
What scissors are you using? We got that question.
Which ones? The black ones?
All of the above.
Well, these are Dr. Slick finishing scissors. Okay, and I like these because of the way that they're shaped. I can hold them in my hand, and I don't have to put them down, although I do put them down when I go to switch. I don't have to. And then these are Dr. Slick. These are 4-inch razor scissors that I use. They have a real fine point on them, and I use them for getting into tighter areas. All right, now I'm going to prep my olive, and we're going to do this at the same time, and this is going to give a really cool kind of blended effect with this Marabou. And I mentioned I like fishing this color in the early spring when the suckers are spawning, because when the suckers spawn, and even some of the forage fish, the males will take on a kind of pinkish hue to them, and they'll actually have kind of a pink coloration to them. And doing this way gives you that kind of pink color. I'll get that off of the camera here in a second. Okay, so we've got them both on. I've tied them, I've married them. I've laid one on top of the other, and I've tied both tips on. Now I'm going to take my hackle pliers, which are over here. I'm going to grab both stems, same time, clamp them in my hackle pliers, and then we're just going to very carefully, let me cut that one stem off, that's going to get in the way. Just going to very carefully work this around the shank of the hook, and we're going to palmer it up. So we're going to wrap and we're going to stroke back, and the idea here is to not get any of your previous wraps pinched under the wrap that you're laying now. And if you do, again, take your time, come in here with your bodkin and kind of peel this out. You've heard me say before, Marabou gets kind of a bad rap. Well, if you tie it in this way, it's pretty darn durable. Okay, and we're going to keep wrapping, and we're going to stroke it back. And there's one that's under there that I don't want to get trapped. And there we go. Okay, beautiful. Look at that. Now, I'm going to pinch that with my finger so it doesn't unravel. And with my auto bobbin, I'm right back in the game, ready to go. I'm going to get a couple of good tight wraps on these two stems. That both stems are together. And I'm going to wrap up on top of the kind of on top of the Marabou. And basically what I'm doing is I'm reinforcing both of those Marabou stems. And when you tie it in this way, this stuff is actually very durable. Okay. Now I'm going to take, and I'm going to pick these out. I want this kind of radiating all out from the center of the shank. And then I can use my brush and I can brush it. And there's one that's trapped in there. There he is. Beautiful. Okay. Now I'm just going to fold all this back, and and this is another thing that I like about this nano silk is it's so thin it doesn't really bulk up, so I can get a lot of really good wraps on this Marabou. If I was doing this with like 3/0, that head would be gargantuan right now, and I don't I don't have to worry about it. And then you get a cool blended pink and olive, and this is a killer springtime pattern. All right, so now,
well, we definitely got shares.
how many shares?
225.
Holy hell. Okay. Sorry, Ed.
And not necessarily shares
Yeah.
mean people reached, so.
All right, so now to finish it off, I've got this is a little guinea hen. They call it fluorescent chartreuse. It is bright. This may be a touch bright for this pattern, but I kind of like the contrast of the bright chartreuse with the pink and the olive. And it's really as much dark as it is bright. It's kind of a cool color combo. I like it. So I've stripped all the stuff off the bottom, and I'm going to pull back about not quite an inch, about 3/4 of an inch, and I want these to extend about half of my Marabou. So you can use different sections of the feather. These are longer down here, the fibers are, than the ones up here. So you kind of pick what you're going to wrap on. You pick it out of the proper length of or proper section of feather, I guess I should say. All right, now I'm going to clip this. Okay. And I've got my feather prepped. And I got I kind of cut that little arrow into it. Okay, that's what I'm going to use for my tying point. And we're going to get this Marabou out of the way. And I'm going to get some good tight wraps on that. Go to my cradle. Get my hackle pliers again. Grab the stem. We're going to pull these back. And we're going to walk this baby forward. Now this is one where you got to watch that you don't, because the Marabou's kind of all over the place. You just keep working it back.
Aquafly's shank, right?
Yes. And they are available. Where are they available?
On o'neillsflyfishing.com.
There you go.
Actually, we may not have the 20. I don't think we had the 20 millimeter.
The 20 millimeters aren't up there. If they're not, they will be within the next day or two. Okay, now I'm going to come in here with my bodkin and I'm going to pick these out. Okay, and I'm going to pull these back. I got a couple there that are being a little ornery with me. There we go. Now we'll brush these. Damn, I keep hitting that camera. And see how that gives it a little contrast. Just a little bright contrast with the kind of more muted colors of the olive and the pink. And now I'm just going to spin the vise here to build up my head. Typically on these you'll have a bit of a bigger head, and if you were using like a standard 3 or 6/0, you wouldn't have to do this much to get everything covered up, but because it's 12/0 nano silk, we do. Okay, and now we're going to whip finish this off. 2-3 turn whips. Come in here and glance the thread off. And now I'm going to come in with my Solares bone dry. And we'll pull all this back and we'll finish off my head. There we go. You can just keep the vise, just spin it just a little bit, don't go crazy, and that will kind of distribute that head cement around. And then when you're ready, hit it with the torch. And there you go. So that's our single collar Marabou type intruder, tied on a straight shank. Put your hook on there, swing that baby through a run, especially in the springtime when the suckers are spawning, and hold on. And there's nothing to this. There's literally no weight to it at all. You could throw this on a 2 or 3 weight microspay with no problem. And you've got a fly that, if you count the length of the Marabou, you're looking at about 3 inches or so. So cool little fly. All right, questions? No question.
Did we do that little drawing in the middle?
No, we're going to do that at the end.
No, we're going to make it sit all the way through it. Okay.
Yep. So how many people are here to watch me tie, and how many people are here just to see the drawing for the March Madness?
Well, we've been keeping good numbers, so I don't think they're here to hear you talk. So let's get that next fly in there.
Well, let me talk about these jaws a little bit. So this is the inline shank jaw. We've been working on this thing for about a year now. Now, if you look at the end, you can see we've machined out kind of a section there where the end of the jaw kind of, it looks like it has a hole in it. And that is to allow us to put the straight shank. This shank has no loop on the end. Okay, so you just slide it in just like you would, setting a regular hook, and then throw the cam, and you spin it, and it spins on center. Okay. Now you can also hold I call them looped shanks, like these. These are game changer shanks. Okay, so you can put them in, center them up, and it spins on center. Okay, if there's any question about the holding power, okay, you're not going to do that to any hook or any shank that you're tying on. All right, the other cool thing, and this was my buddy Ed's idea. Okay, so with this jaw,
Grant commented, "I'm here so I don't get fined."
I'm just here so I don't get fined. Yeah. So with this jaw, you'll see that we have a new hub. We are going to make it in stainless and brass. You can see the hub has a hole right in the center. Okay, and that's what allows the jaw to spin on center. But it also, this opens up a couple of things for us. So this is my Magnum front hub, but it's the same if you have the standard. Okay, and we're going to put it on. Now this is my front hub with the hole that's off center, the one that you guys are all familiar with, and it's got my standard inline jaws. But check this out. You can pop this jaw out. You can put your shank jaw in. Okay, now you have an inline fine point. So, just like all of our other jaws, in this configuration, the top of the jaw is your 0 point. So, I'm going to put this hook in, and when I put the hook in, you got to kind of project it out a little bit high there and come down. Okay, so now I've got the top of my hook shank is level with the top of the jaw, so my hook spins on center somewhat. It's a little high, but you get the idea. But what it does, my hook will spin on center just like it does with our standard jaw, the kind of the blunt nose one, but it opens up about half of the bend of the hook. So now, if you're tying game changers on shanks, you've got a little bit more room in here to get your other shank clipped on. You got a little more room to tie tails on. standard flies. So it just opens up another possibility for you. So that is the inline shank jaw used. The shank jaw used as an inline fine point. Now, here's another benefit to it. We're going to pop this out. We're going to put this hub back on. This is the hub with the hole on the center. Okay, now remember these guys? All right. This will go right into that hole. We engineered everything so it's all modular and it's all the same size. So now what that does, it puts our fine point jaw with the dog leg, it puts it closer to the center of the vise. So when you have all this mass and it's sitting below center, when you spin it, the vise wants to wobble. There's hardly any wobble there. So there's a situation where we've engineered a product and kind of as a by effect, we get another benefit from one of our existing products. So this is going to be a good product for us. We're really, really happy about it.
All right, we got a fair amount of questions. So
all right, questions. When's it going to be available?
No, the biggest question is, how do you put the hook in the other fly?
How do you put the hook in the other fly? Oh, with the loop. I don't have the hooks here.
Grab a rigging pack.
And that's why I can't, because the loop's not long enough for that hook.
Yeah, but you can bend that in half and show them.
What do you mean? Oh, all right. I see what you're saying. All right. Okay. All right, so there's a size, that's a size 2, which is too big for the fly that I just tied. But what you would do is, let me see if I can do it with this one. Okay,
One of your 18 wires that were too short.
You would fold this in half.
You gotta do it in front of the camera.
I'm going to do it in front of the camera. Okay, you got to fold this in half.
Yeah, you're gonna have to hold that like in front of the jaw too, with black wire in front of a black T-shirt. There you go.
All right, let me get these. You got to get them. There you go. So now I folded the wire over, and I pushed it through the eye of the hook. And this is why I say the hook, your loop, has to be big enough for the entire hook to pass through. Okay, so I folded it. I pushed it through. Now you take the loop and you open it up, put the loop around the hook, and then pull it tight.
So just like you would a loop-to-loop connection with your fly line.
It's basically a handshake loop with your fly line. And you can use, I'm using wire tonight. You can use Fireline. Those are the two most popular. I like this wire because it has a little bit of rigidity to it. And you can kind of work it so your hook stands out straight. But also, when you go to change hooks, sometimes the Fireline gets so tight, it tightens up so much around the eye and the shank of the hook, really hard to get it off. And the wire, you would just, to take it off, you would just push it. See how that loop's coming off?
So, from John McMinn, can you tell us about picking out good quality Marabou in order to tie a pompano fly like that?
Okay. And then that's how you change it. And that's why when I tie these, I like my loops a little longer so that I have the ability, if I'm throwing heavy sink tips and I'm really bumping the bottom, I want to switch the hook so it's riding hook point up. If I'm fishing up near the top, within the first foot or so of the water column, I may want the hook to ride hook point down. So it gives you the option to do that. It also gives you the option, when you roll this point over, you can just pop it off. And I do carry other hooks with me. Just pop off this hook, put a new one on, and if you were tying, you can tie these flies on a tube, or you can tie them on a regular hook. But if you roll the point or you break the point on a regular hook, the fly's no good. Whereas if you do it this way, you can switch the hook out and put a new one on, and then you can still get a lot more life out of your fly. Okay, so what I'm looking for in Marabou.
You'll have to hold it in front.
I'm going to.
Focus.
I'm going to. Okay, so this This is what I would consider a good Marabou blood quill. I like the blood quills because the stem on a blood quill that's in the center of the feather a blood quill. It's not a developed Marabou feather yet. It's off of a young bird, and the stem is not very big. It's actually kind of fine, so it makes it easy to bend and wrap around the hook. And what I'm looking for first and foremost when they're in the pack and they're like this, I want to see these. I want to see these tips that are even and they're relatively uniform in length. Okay, if I've got one to where, and black is the worst because when they dye black stuff, when they're sorting it, whatever is the worst quality feather, it goes in the darker bin because you can't see it as easy on the shelves of the fly shop. So the darker the color, the more you want to look at your material. But sometimes the tips will get burnt from the bleaching and dyeing process, or the feather will just be broomed off. So I'm looking for feathers that have nice long wispy ends, and I want them to be relatively uniform. Okay, now to prep this feather, all of this stuff down here is no good. It's no good for what we're doing. So I will take that and I will pull it off from both sides. And it's funny, you start with this great big feather, and by the time you get it prepped and ready to tie on the fly, there's not a whole lot of it left. Okay, so now I've pulled the bottom stuff off, okay, and I'm left with these nice wispy fibers. They're uniform on both ends, okay, and then when I would go to wrap it, what I do, roughly each joint in your finger is about 1 inch long. So I use this first joint on my pointer finger, and if I want a 1/2 inch of material, I'll use half of that. If I want 3/4, I'll use 3/4. If I want 1 inch, I'll go to the tip of my finger. But I put the bottom of the feather right at the joint of my finger, and it's kind of tough. I can turn it around. So hopefully you can see that. And then I will pinch it at the length that I want, and I will peel this back and then peel the tip, or pull the tip forward. And a lot of times, which you can't see me, I'll take my fingers, it's kind of nasty, but I'll wet my fingers and I'll kind of wet this tip down, and then that feather would be prepped and ready to tie in palmer. Okay? So I hope that answers your question. And if not, let me know and we'll keep talking about it. What time is it? 7:40.
All right. So the two biggest questions: how much are the jaws, and when can we get them?
The jaws with the brass hub, they're going to be $100, and with the stainless hub, they're going to be $120. Okay. When can you get them? They are being tested right now. I literally just finished running these hubs last week. We've got some that are being tested. We've got a few more that are going to go out, and they're going to be tested as well. I want to get them in some more people's hands just to make sure that I didn't miss anything when we were doing the engineering process. And if all goes well, I'm hopeful that they'll be available in, 2 weeks or so. We have to make a determination if we're going to do a instructional pamphlet for our packaging, like the fine point jaws and the bobbin and all that. The packaging has that thing that folds over with the logo, and then you open it up and it tells you how to use them. Those things, believe it or not, to make those and to get those things printed are extremely expensive, and we pay a lot of money for those, and we're doing everything that we can do to keep the prices down. So I think what I might do is just send them out with no instructions in the book, but I will do a instructional video and put it up on the website, and that's something that we're looking into to hopefully kind of keep the cost down.
You got people volunteering to test them now.
I'm sure we do.
We have our testers.
Yeah,
are already set. We've got some fantastic ambassadors and a couple people that helped in the design of this that will get some to test them out, and you guys will know in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. We just want to make sure that I don't want to put anything out before we're ready, and I certainly don't want to put anything out that we've missed something in the engineering. So when you guys get it, trust me, it's been run through the ringer. So just want to make sure. All right, so we're at about 7:45. I'll bang out this next one, and then we'll get to the drawing.
Do the share and sponsor.
Yeah, we're sponsored by Ed's Fly Shop out in Montrose, Colorado. Let me get my board here because I can't see. edsflyshop.com, Ed's Fly Shop on Facebook, Ed's Fly Shop on Instagram, 970-372-2395. Okay. Another thing I want to mention, and this will give some people time if they want to hop on. We had a guy drop out of the March Madness competition. He dropped out yesterday. Apparently he has some things going on and he doesn't think he'll be able to keep up with the schedule. We have one opening. So Keith, this is your surprise announcement. If somebody that's out there right now wants in on the March Madness, send me a message right now. The first person that gets a message, you get in. I can already tell you who you're going to be paired up against, and you're going to start tomorrow. You have to tie on a Nor-vise. It has to be on a Nor-vise. You have to send us the pictures of the fly in the vise. But if you want in, there's one shot for somebody to get in. We have, 6 or 7 major sponsors. We've got about $4,000 worth of prizes that we're giving away. So if you want in, the first person to message is in.
If you tie on a Nor-vise.
If you tie on a Nor-vise. And Keith, if nobody is in, guess what? You're in, bud. Keith has been in and out this whole for this whole thing.
Braden goes, Keith, bench warmer, you're in.
All right, so let's bang this second one out here. Now, this is going to be a double-staged micro intruder. So I've got the first one we tied on a 20 millimeter shank. This is on a 27. Okay, so it's a little bit longer, so we can get the room in to get the 2 collars. And this is probably about as big as I would go on a micro spay. Still doesn't weigh a lot. And you'll notice I don't put a lot of weight on any of my flies. I want those flies to be working up and down in the water current. I use my sink tips, my different tips, to get me to the level that I want. And from there, I want the fly kind of up and down and moving all around. If you weight a fly, I've been playing around with this for years. It is my opinion, and this is just my opinion, that I think unweighted flies, I think they look more natural, and I think they move better in the water than flies with a lot of weight on them. Now, I'm not saying that I don't ever weight flies, but I try to use as little weight as possible.
You just saying that because Patrick Robinson's watching you?
No, well, I mean, he's right, though. I mean,
he's the one you picked up on.
He did. I was doing it beforehand, before we started fishing with him, but he's not wrong. And if you watch bait fish in the water, they're almost weightless. They kind of hover. So I kind of want my flies to look like that. The other thing I like about these intruder patterns is they're new-ish. So there's not a lot of rules that have been written about them. So you can really freestyle on these things pretty good, which is cool because, if you go to tie a gray ghost and you put the wrong feather in, then you have people coming down, oh, it's not a gray ghost, it's a variant. And I could really care less about that. But I like the fact that you can just kind of wing it and just put different feathers on and palmer different things. And, it's a fun fly to tie. They look cool. They catch fish. And, you don't have to really worry about people getting all upset with you if you don't follow the quote-unquote rules, which I've never been good at anyway, but that's another story. Okay.
Casey says she's going to get you a sponsor reading lesson with Big Mess while we're in North Carolina next weekend.
Yeah, we are heading down to NC for Nor-vise boot camp. We'll be leaving here, Wednesday night, I believe. And hopefully the rain will hold off so that we can get a little fishing in. Alright, so we're going to start with a dubbing loop again.
Shannon said the same with unweighted or non-beaded nymphs. The whole everything.
Yeah, it's I will obviously your nymphs sometimes have to have weight. Is Patrick on?
He was for a little bit. He commented on the jaws, so.
Oh. Yeah, imagine that.
I'm pretty sure he volunteered.
Yeah, the guy that runs Steelhead Alley wants the steelhead jaws. So, now, but he ties very little, if any, weight on any of his nymphs, and they use a lot of weight on the rig to get it down. But the flies aren't really weighted much, if at all. And the idea behind that, and I can't argue with it, is they look more natural when they're in the water. Now, everybody's going to be, oh, you got to have bead heads and this and that.
Gator nymphing versus Euro nymphing.
Well, the boys in Central PA, they don't put a lot of weight on their flies either. And the old school, the tried and true guys in Central PA, it is rare to see bead heads in their nymph box. They're all basically unweighted flies, and that's what they use. So, there's a lot of people who are a whole lot smarter than me out there that are doing this stuff. So, sometimes it pays to shut up and listen. Not to me, to other people. Alright, so I'm getting my material set in my loop. Now, again, I'm going to bring it out front, pinch it to the main thread that's on the dubbing cradle, and what that does, when I spin this, it gives me 3 threads that are wrapped around in the loop, and it makes it a lot more durable. And you don't need a dubbing spinner because you've got the Nor-vise. So we'll give it a spin. Spin it up. Okay, and then I'll take my brush and I will brush it out. So something new that we're doing, and it's been really cool. We've been doing some impromptu Zoom fly tying, and there's no structure to it. It's basically just a bunch of people in it, and you don't have to be a Nor-vise person to get on. Brittany, one of our ambassadors, is kind of spearheading this thing. We did one last night, and it was, I don't know, 20 people were on tying, and everybody's tying their own pattern. And if you can imagine, back in the day, when you could go to a fly shop and sit down at a table and tie flies with a bunch of your friends, it's kind of that, but we're doing it over the computer. And even if we didn't have this COVID stuff, I wouldn't be able to sit down and tie with people in Idaho and Oregon and, those western states out there. And we had people represented from New England, down south.
That's pretty good.
Some people from Idaho. It's pretty good.
Duke Davis said the difference between a good nymph fisherman and a great nymph fisherman is one split shot. Yeah,
he's not wrong. He's not wrong, guys. So, and I mean, the Clouser minnow is probably the most successful fly ever made. And I'm telling you to not put weight on your flies, but it's
you're going to throw Bob's name out of the bin.
Yeah, that would be funny.
No weight on flies here, Ty Clouser.
That would be funny. So yeah, he's in our legends category. Bob is. So I just did the same thing that I did earlier with the dubbing ball. Now I'm going to wrap back on top of that a little bit. Difference between a good nymph fisherman and a great nymph fisherman is one split shot. I like that, and I will use that myself. All right.
You're going to say that when you're giving a presentation.
I am. Thank you, Duke. All right, so this is going to be a lighter colored fly. And that's the other thing I like about these. Just by changing the materials, you can change, we can tie this same fly. This is going to be a very light colored fly. This is Hen Saddle in light tan. The same way that we prepped the Marabou, I'm going to prep this Hen Saddle. Okay. And we're going to clip the little arrow in there. Has anybody signed up for the contest?
I haven't seen anyone, but we'll see what Casey says.
Okay.
That's a little bit more her department. She's better at managing that than I am.
She's better at managing everything than you are.
Yeah, well, I'm managing texts from Keith and Brittany and Casey and everything.
About what?
Apparently, Brittany said there's a video of Justin impersonating you that I
Yeah.
didn't see that she sent me.
Yeah.
And her volunteering to be a tester.
Oh, imagine that. Yeah.
And saying, how are they going to go and give them out in 2 weeks? You're not going to be able to get the jaws to me for a week.
Sorry. You know a guy. All right.
She said you're putting a little too much faith in the USPS.
Well, don't get me started.
Terry Landry goes, what contest?
I've had people emailing me and messaging me all day. Oh, I can't wait to see what it is. And then we were on the live last night, and there were a bunch of people there that were on the contest. And I was saying, okay, what do you want to see come out, and what do you not want to see come out? And it was pretty interesting.
Braden said he wanted nymphs or something.
Yeah, dries.
Dries.
Big Mess is begging for dry flies. All right, so that's a hen saddle feather, and I just palmered it around just like we did before.
Terry Landry's cussing USPS.
Yeah, he should be. All right, so now this is a mallard flank, and I've got it prepped. When I wrap mallard has a tendency to be very ornery, and it's dry, and it has a tendency to roll. So I always strip one side. So if you're looking at the feather, and if the feather's facing you and the concave side is up, meaning it's facing you, you strip the left side of the feather because you're going to wrap it this way. Okay? But I always strip, when I'm wrapping mallard, I always strip one side of the feather. And this is the one, remember I said earlier my test ties did not go very well. This one did not go very well, so. Ed
Hayes goes, I can pick mine up. You don't need to show.
That's funny.
He's going to be on his way over here.
He's going to be knocking on the door in about 5 minutes. Can I have my jaws? That's great. Those live events that we've been doing, I think the next one, and Brittany hop on here, I think it's the 27th.
She's on, she's watching like a hawk. Nobody can wait for the unveiling.
Oh, okay. All right, I'll get this done as fast as I can, and then we'll do the unveiling, and then nobody wants to watch me tie. I feel inferior.
Braden goes, hopefully I can test a set of those new jaws in a few days.
Oh, imagine that.
I said Grant has to get his first.
No, well, no.
Hey, Grant promised bull redfish trip. Braden just offered a fly.
Well, he didn't offer a fly. He didn't know that fly was going to be mine anyway. All right. So now we're wrapped on. So those, like I said, those impromptu lives, it's a super cool thing to do. Last night, they went for like 3.5 hours or something. I stayed on. I didn't tie last night. I just kind of hung out with the people and kind of BS'd, and which is cool because, like I said, there's no structure. You know, you can talk about fishing, you can talk about flies. We talked some about the vise and a couple of questions that people had. So, again,
technical support for a guy who was having issues.
Yeah. He was having an issue. Yeah, he was having an issue with his jaws, and we had him tear down and rebuild his jaws right there on the stream. So that was cool. But it's another thing that we're doing just to get us out there. I can tell you this, I will not be on every single time. But I'll be on as much as I can, and it's another outlet to, to be involved with some of the stuff that we're doing. All right, now, this, again, you never see me do this except when I'm tying with this nano silk. I'm going to do a dubbing noodle here, and I did put a little bit of wax on my thread. This stuff is so slippery, it is extremely hard to get it to grab. All right, so I've got laser dub. This is tan. Again, I said this is going to be a very light colored fly.
Austin Andrew, who's, if we're offering trips for vice jaws, I know a place with bull trout.
Careful, Junior. I'll be knocking on your door with my hobo sack. All right, so we're going to spin it up. It's just a regular dubbing noodle. Nothing special. I do want to put a little bit more down there at the bottom. Just get a little bit more bulk in there. Now I'm going to pinch it and spin it. We're going to tighten her up. And we're going to work our way to the back of the fly, and I'm going to start right where I tied in that mallard. And we're going to start working our way forward.
March Madness is filmed.
Who's in?
Justin Thurin.
Okay. I don't know him, but...
Keith does.
Oh, okay.
So
What?
Keith was like tagging him like, hey, you should get in.
Yeah.
I don't want to tie.
Alright, now I need to do something here. I got to put a little bit more dubbing on. I need a support for my hackle. So I'm just going to spin on another little bit of dubbing, tighten it up, and I basically at the front of this body I need a ball, and I'm just wrapping this right on top of itself.
So do they make that beadalon wire in different sizes?
They do. This is this is 15.015 which is 15 thousandths of an inch, and it's 30 feet long. And actually, I'll give you a little hint about this. If you guys are familiar with a product, it's called Surflon, which is a knottable wire that people use in the surf. We'll use it sometimes for bite tippets if we're fishing for pike. Beadalon and Surflon are the exact same product. They come out of the exact same company. One goes to the left and it gets a Beadalon sticker on it, and you get it at craft stores for about $4. One goes to the right, it goes to tackle stores, it gets a Surflon sticker on it, and you pay $20 for the same exact product. So.
Oh, Justin is the guy from the Zoom yesterday you're helping with the jaws.
Oh, okay. All right, good. All right, so we've got our mallard, we've got our hotspot, or our wire, our hotspot mallard, and we've got our body down. Now we're going to go with...
they make that beadalon in a bunch of different colors too, don't they?
Black and white.
Black and white.
Black and white, yep. All right, now I'm going to go, I've got another mallard feather prepped here, same as before. We're going to tie that in. A couple of good wraps on it. These scissors. Volunteered field testers.
Someone commented on the fact that we've got an O-ring on the jaw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll explain that here in a second.
Braden's being a little a-hole.
No, he's not.
Polar bear wing next.
Oh.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, you heard about that, huh? Yeah. All right, so we'll go ahead and tell him. So apparently, we had dealings with the gentleman, and we've got about $200 worth of polar bear that...
Luke watches this. So.
Okay. And it's been seized in customs.
So I got a letter from the United States Department of Fish and Wildlife. Apparently, I was not allowed to order that, and I thought it was good. And
well, we thought we had the paperwork that we needed, and apparently we don't. So we're going to have to figure that out. But yeah,
I got to call Fish and Wildlife on Tuesday.
About $200 worth of polar bear got seized, and Tyler.
Polar bear fell on me.
If polar bear fell on me, he got a registered letter to my house, and Michelle got it, and she's like, T. O'Neill, why are you getting a registered letter from the Department of the Interior? And I'm like, holy hell, I have no idea. And come to find out, it wasn't for me; it was for Tyler. But.
Yeah, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
You saw the name, thought you were in the clear.
Yeah. All right, so I've got my mallard. Now I'm going to go with another tan hen.
Casey's commenting, telling Braden to zip it. He's upstairs, she's downstairs.
Yeah. And again, just like we did before, got 2 more feathers, and we're going to be done. And then we'll get to the thing that everybody's waiting on. I thought they were here to see me, but I guess not. Okay.
Oh, Brittany said it's stuck right there in customs with the Canada shipment.
What? Stuck right where?
The polar bears with sitting next to Terry Landry's.
Now his stuff is good. I think it broke loose. I know he got his base, because he sent me a picture of that and he said he loved it, and I think his other box started moving yesterday. So I'm going to tell you, USPS has been a nightmare.
It's been better for about the past 2 weeks.
It was better, and then it got bad again. I don't know what the heck's going on.
It's
I know
it's like if you're fishing the Little Lehigh.
I know what's going on, but it's terrible. I mean, we'll ship something to the UK and it'll get there faster than if we ship something to like Virginia, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. The stuff's going all over the country, bouncing around from one center to the other. It's just it's tough. It's really, really been tough.
Yeah, I shipped a box down to Virginia to Braden's house like a week and a half before Christmas. We went down there to hang out with them for Christmas, and the package showed up after we left.
Mm-hmm. All right. So now we've got mallard over top of hen. I'm sorry, hen over top of mallard, and then we're going to finish it up with one more feather, which is going to be, let me see what color this is. It is bonefish tan guinea fowl. And this is going to give it a cool, kind of like we did on the last fly. It's going to give it a cool contrast with this guinea feather. There's a good one. Nope, that was two. There's a good one right there.
Delaware to North Dakota to Virginia took 16 days.
Mm-hmm. And you call them, and they're like, we'll call them, we'll do that, and it's just been a nightmare. Hopefully, we're coming to the end.
At least all the holiday stuff isn't as bad.
Okay, last feather. This just gives it a little. Most of your bait fish typically will have a bit of a darker head.
And Levine's goes, are you telling me 4 weeks is a long time when it should have been 2 days?
He's not waiting on anything from us.
No,
he
okay. Just got his package.
Oh hell! I didn't know
Ed's
that.
Fly Shop.
Yeah. Oh, Ed. I'm thinking of Don Corey. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, Ed waited literally a month for a package to go to Colorado, and typically, when Ed places an order, he has his stuff in a couple, 2-3 days, week maybe at the max. And he literally waited a month for this package to show up, and had customers that were upset with him.
Braden wants to trade his finesse changer for the fly that you're tying right now. He said he likes it a lot and he wants it.
Oh.
Well, given that he was already taking your finesse changer, I think you got to tie two of them.
Yeah, you got to come up with something else. I was going to jump down on that finesse changer like an osprey down on a shad with my talons out. Or he could tie one. And then he's going, or you could tie a finesse changer.
Yeah.
Why? Why would I ever tie a finesse changer?
We got you and Grant on staff. Why do we need to tie finesse changers?
Alright, now I'm going to take my finger, I'm going to pinch that with my auto bobbin. I'm going to come in and I'm going to get 3 good strong wraps right behind it. And I'm going to get 3 right in front. And now I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to clip this stem out.
Ed said Braden tie 3.
And my brush. And we're going to brush this baby forward. And I really enjoy tying these type of flies. You don't see, it's becoming more and more popular. You don't see a lot of 2-stage or 2-collared intruders that are this small. There is some good stuff out there on YouTube. There's a guy up in Alaska. He's a guide, and his name escapes me right now. And he's doing a lot of microspace stuff for trout, and he's got a lot of videos of these type of flies out. And then we'll just build up a little head here and pulling all this back. Build up a nice little head. Do a couple of 3-turn whip finishes. good and tight. And then we'll finish it off. You can put jungle cock on there for the eyes if you want to. Again, like I said, this is a light colored fly. You could do the same exact fly, just darken up on the, get brown dyed mallard and use dark guinea fowl. Use dark hen and a dark dubbed body. You could do a peacock herl body. And again, that's what's cool about these intruders is they're quote unquote are not there's no rules to them yet. So, and I have ones where I'm just down here and I'm just freestyling, and I'll tie them and I don't even know what I used, and I go out and I fish them and they work, and then I need to start writing it down because I'll be out of the flies and I won't know what they were. Just hit it with the torch, and there you go. There's your two-staged, two-collared micro intruder with a stinger hook, which unfortunately I'm out of the hook, so I can't put the hook on. And swing that on a 3 or 4 weight two-hander on a, say, like a 210 to maybe 230 grain head, and just get it down in the run and let it work, and hold on. So there's a double collar, there's a single collar that we did, all with the new Nor-vise shank jaw. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you next time.
There's a delay.
A delay. They're like, wait.
Before they get all pissed off.
Wait, what? All right, go to the big camera. All right, so any questions on any of that? If you do, let me know. I put a picture up of it earlier today. Now, we did fold them in half, so they're all in here. All 20 categories that I posted up on the March Madness, the private Facebook page. Okay, now, remember, we're going to draw this tonight. You guys can start tying tonight if you want to. You are going to email your pictures to Casey, C-A-S-E-Y, at nor-vise.com. So it's Casey at nor-vise.com. You have to have your pictures in by Thursday, February 18th at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. That's 5 o'clock our time. If you miss it, unfortunately, you're going to be disqualified. Now, let me pull up a text here.
O-ring.
Oh, O-ring. Okay. Because, and this was Tyler's idea. Here is our standard inline, or our standard fine point. Okay, the one that you guys know and love so much. We added a little bit of length back here to get this, to get the jaw away from the front of the hub. A little bit further away from the front hub.
I can't take credit for that.
That was actually
that was
Sven. Yeah. So Ed, my buddy Ed Hayes, had the first idea. He's the first one that said, "Can you do a pointed inline jaw?" Which we did, and then we were going to do a shank like this, a chuck to hold shanks, and we kicked it around, and then we scrapped it, and we decided to take the fine point platform and put these, machine it so it has that kind of hollow section in it so we can hold all of the different shanks, because this one can only hold the straight shanks with no loop on the end. So now we've got a jaw that can do much more. We lengthened it in this area here so that we can tie bigger flies on it, figuring if you're tying game changers, you're going to have a bunch of shanks on here to get it away from the front of the hub. What happens is there's not a whole lot of room back here to keep this garter spring up on the back of the jaw. So when you open the jaw, the garter spring would roll off. So we needed something that would stay in place. With the standard and the fine point, the jaw, because it butts up against there, the hub keeps it in place. So we didn't have that, and that was one of the things that we learned, that, okay, this isn't going to work. So we went back to the old way of doing it, and we put an O-ring on there. And in your, when you purchase it, there we'll put an extra O-ring in, because they do break. And if they break, just call me and I'll send you a new one. what we would have had to do to re-engineer this, the amount of work that we would have to do, and the amount of changes we would have to make to stop this from rolling on. It was too much. And there's a saying in the world when you're engineering and making things, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. So we just decided to go back to old school, put the O-ring on it, and there you go. So, all right, any questions or anything, or should I just draw this and be done with it?
I think you should just draw it and be done with it.
All right, so you got to have your pictures in February 18th, that's Thursday, by 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 5 o'clock our time on the East Coast. Okay, voting, and I'm reading this text from Casey. Voting Friday, right side, brackets 1 to 8, left side, brackets 1 to 8. And hold on.
You sure? That's not the schedule I sent out.
What's the schedule you sent out? Read me. What?
So Friday should be left side brackets 1 through 8, and Saturday should be left side brackets 9 through 16.
Okay. And then when are we doing the right side?
Next week.
Okay. And the reason
there is a 2-week period because of all of the pictures in between these.
And the reason we're doing that is remember last year we only did 32 with 64 people this year. We were afraid that some of the pictures would get buried, and we didn't want anybody to not get a fair shake. So at least on the first bracket, because there's so many pictures and so many games, so to speak, we're only going to do half of them. We're going to do them in a way that everybody gets a fair amount of exposure, so that everybody can see your pictures. Remember, you are encouraged to share them. We put a batch of hashtags that we would like you to use. You can share them to any social media platform that you want. Only the likes, which is the blue thumbs up or the heart, will count on the Nor-vise page. So if you share it to Instagram and people start liking it on Instagram, they don't count. So make sure that you say you have to go to the Nor-vise page to like them, or those likes and those hearts aren't going to work.
How do the batteries look in the microphone? Are they good?
Yeah, it's like 3 bars. Why?
It looked weird on my audio input over here, so I haven't heard anybody complain yet. So.
All right, so all 20 of them are in here.
All right, look away.
Well, you folded them and they're kind of stuck together, so I got to
folded them to try and get them to not.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. I am not going to look. I cannot see what I'm pulling out. And here it comes. I've got it in my hand, and it is...
Bait fish.
Bait fish. There is a young man outside of Richmond, Virginia.
All caps, game changer.
He's doing cartwheels right now. All right, guys, that's your first pack. It's out of the food source category. It is bait fish. So any fly that emulates a bait fish, remember, your flies have to be tied in the spirit of catching a fish. Okay, and I'm just putting this out now. I want you guys, if you can, to hold on to the flies. I would like for, at the end of this, for everybody to donate the flies that you've tied. Send them to me. And I would like to do a donation to, we've kicked around a few things, Project Healing Waters, Project Healing Towers, which is Duke Davis's charity that he started. He's in the competition. And I would like to take these flies and I would like to donate them to some of our veterans who are in the types of programs that help them, the fly fishing programs help them reacclimate back into the world. So bait fish, any bait fish pattern, pictures are due 5 o'clock, February 18th, Thursday, Eastern Time. All right?
Ben Cleveland's joking around, rigged. Shannon Messers, oh Lord.
Yeah, you saw it. I held it up here.
So, but, all right, that's it.
There you go.
That's our show for tonight. I look forward to seeing the pictures.
All right. If anybody has any questions, we'll hang out for a little bit, maybe 5 more minutes. Brittany's already texted me what she said.
I can't say what she texted me.
Oh, okay.
I'm not allowed to use that.
So,
what's a bait fish?
what's a bait fish?
No, it is bait fish for everybody. So when J-Rock asked if it was just for the left side.
No, everybody.
Everyone has to have their pictures in by Thursday at 5 o'clock. It doesn't matter left side or right side. It's all bait fish. This is the first category. Your picture just may not be posted until next week, depending on where you're at in the bracket.
And we're doing that. Braden's calling me now. Dude, I'm still live. Stop. So we're doing that so that it evens the playing field.
I know you're tying a game changer.
So,
you don't have to call me for that.
Hang the phone up. So we're doing that so that everybody has an equal playing field. Everybody has the same amount of time to tie the flies. So everybody has to have their flies in by Thursday. And then we're staggering the posting so that everybody hopefully gets enough exposure that you can get your things shared out and they don't get buried in amongst. We would be doing 32 different games.
Tim Hepworth's texting you now
Tim,
too. Everyone's phones are blowing up right now.
Send me that hair you shaved off your head. I'll work it into my bait fish. Damn, people are busting me. Somebody talked. I almost wore a hat tonight because I've already got a comment about my receding hairline. So, y'all about to get. Does anybody know? Does anybody know what this is? If you don't, send me a private message and I'll tell you.
It's a lefty joke.
Dominic Petruzzi, Stephen Dallas are going to be good. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep. Okay. Green Highlander. Hey, it's a bait fish. See, this is what I like about this format where we're just not picking the pictures, because in theory you could have like a full dress salmon fly, which would be considered a bait fish, an older pattern going up against like a modern game changer. So, it's a lot in the draw of who you're going against in the first round. It's a lot in the draw of what comes out of that bucket as far as categories and your particular audience, what they kind of gravitate to. Are they going to gravitate to the older, more classically styled flies, or are they going to gravitate to the newer, hip kind of stuff? So those are decisions that you have to make. And I will tell you this, and I said this last year, whoever wins this competition is going to be a very well-rounded, very accomplished fly tyer. We want it to be fun. We want the people to have fun with it. I would encourage the people that get knocked out to continue to tie throughout the rounds. But I'm really interested to see where this is going to go. So...
Yeah, hey, Kevin Griffin's going, what is a bait fish?
Brittany, you got a shot. So for those of you who don't know, Brittany and Kevin Griffin, they're both ambassadors. And they went against each other last year in this competition in the first round. We did a random computer draw. And this time I drew the names out of a hat. So they're going against each other this year as well, which is crazy that two ambassadors will be going against each other in the first round 2 years apart. So that's going to be an interesting matchup.
It's just a bunch of trash talking
in
the comments. No,
all right, guys, we're going to hop off here. If you have anything, you have any questions, please let us know. I'll go back through and look at the comments, and if we missed anything, I'll answer them here later tonight or tomorrow. And hope everybody has a good week.
So, as of, just because we're close to going over, I want to make the comment now. As of the end of the Facebook Live tonight is the number that we go off of for shares. We're at 295. So we did not break the 300 mark. We'll be giving away 5 bobbins.
Just 5 bobbins. And that is compliments of Ed's Fly Shop, Montrose, Colorado. 970-372-2395. He's got a great shop. He's got a great online presence. He's one of our best dealers. So check him out. Great guy, and he'll treat you right. So thank you guys. We're going to sign off, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks.